Dr. Nikolaus Lang of Boston Consulting Group, global leader of the BCG Henderson Institute. I know your organization just recently put out a global trade report. Everyone was waiting to see what President Trump's first move would be on trade after lots of warnings about tariff hikes. There were a ton of executive orders over the last 24 hours, but when it came to tariffs, it's kind of a wait and see, right?
Yes.
Can you explain that to us?
Yes. Well, I think we've seen a wait-and-see attitude, investigation starting, and I think we will see more happening. Yeah, and I think when you look at the first Trump administration, it took also some time to really see tariffs increase. Our point of view is that there will be tariff hikes in one way or the others. Whether this will be the magnitude that was kind of mentioned in the campaign remains open, but we will see tariff hikes in the months to come, very likely, and that will have impact, of course, on global trade.
Knowing now that the Trump administration says they want to study the issue and know the landscape better before making decisions, does that buy corporations time, and how can companies prepare for what might still be coming?
Yeah, so, well, it buys maybe time, but we're talking in the matter of months and probably not years. And I think in general, we have seen that corporations need to react to geopolitical shifts. You don't only have tariff developments, you also have active conflicts like Ukraine or the Middle East, which disrupted supply chains. So what I see with a lot of companies that they develop what we call the geopolitical muscle. Yeah, they develop a view of having much more diversified supply chains around the world. They are more ready to accept inflationary volatility going forward. But I think what is core to this is that really corporations develop an ability to sense geopolitical developments, whether it's via scenario planning or the other tools, the ability to really integrate that into their decision making on investments, on strategies. And so I think that's the biggest way to prepare for these changes.
So that's interesting that you say that, because I have noticed over the course of several years, increasingly conversations happening here, but anytime you sit down with private sector leaders, involve geopolitics and wanting to understand and know how their companies can mitigate these huge tensions and fragmentation happening all around the world. When did that shift start to happen, and why?
Yeah, well, I've been looking at that topic for almost 30 years, and I would say until the mid-2010s, the world seemed flat. People said there's the end of history and similar ideas. And I think with the middle of the 2010s, we saw an increase of elements like the Brexit, the first Trump administration. And I think in boardrooms, as in Davos, suddenly the topic of geopolitics became more prevalent. I think it has then accelerated with the war in Ukraine and so on. But I think the real shift has happened, from my point of view, somewhere between 2015 and 2017.
So there are always silver linings even in chaos. Where do you see opportunities that companies should be looking for right now?
Yeah, so, well, we discussed about tariffs and trade at the beginning, and I think the positive news is that we forecast trade to continue to grow in the years to come, whether we have tariffs or not. There's a need for trade. And so we believe that trade will grow by 3% per annum. Over the next decade. And there are specific markets that will profit of this. First and foremost, Southeast Asia, adding $1 trillion of trade. India, adding $400 billion of trade, and many others. So I think the question is, we might need to look for new growth markets, but they exist.
Dr. Lang, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.